Our special spotlight today takes place in the garden of Len Barron. And since this is a program about the arts and his garden is so beautiful, I thought you'd enjoy seeing it. I consider Len Barron to be a Boulder treasure, an icon around town, and Len has done so many wonderfully interesting things in the arts, I thought maybe he could tell us some about them. Welcome, Len. Please tell us a little bit about what you've been doing.
Well, you know, since 1989, I've been traveling with my one theater piece on Einstein. And I also do a piece called On the Pleasures of Growing Older. You know, it's not about growing old. It's about the richness that experience and time brings. But related to that, my main interest in Einstein is not the genius. As a genius, he really doesn't have very much to offer any of us. But in the principles that governed his life, anyone can participate in those principles, you know, fairness, beauty, and playfulness. You know, those are the principles that governed his life, and one doesn't have to have an IQ of 150 to be fair or do things beautifully. Certainly one doesn't have to be a genius to be playful.
So I don't know very much about Einstein. I know that MC squared thing, and I think you look like him. So can you tell me a little bit more about Einstein?
Yeah, he was born in 1879, and physics was, you know, at the time he was born, people thought, well, that's the end of physics. We know everything that we know. Turns out there was a couple of other things to be known. His genius, of course, opened up a whole new perspective on time and space. My interest in Einstein is not the genius, but as I've just suggested, someone who, nobody thinks about Einstein as being a model for their own lives. My task over the years, my task and my pleasure, has been to present Einstein as a model for anyone's life.
Now, I feel like I must ask you this. Are you still doing that show on occasion?
Oh yeah, I've done it something over 200 times. Yeah.
And do you have any scheduled coming up in Boulder right now?
You know, most of the stuff I do is out of town.
Out of town.
You know, every once in a while, you know, when I do something in town, like the last Einstein thing I did was a benefit for Parenting Place.
Ah.
The first performance I ever gave was a benefit for Parenting Place.
Ah.
And one of the pleasures, you know, I consider the Einstein piece a child of the Parenting Place, because if it weren't for that, I was at a meeting and we were talking about raising money, and I said, you know, I've been thinking about doing an Einstein piece for years, so why don't I just do it, and we'll use it as a benefit for Parenting Place. And one of the tricks that I've learned, when I start a project, for example, the Einstein piece, after the board endorsed the idea, and the next day I hadn't written a thought, you know, hadn't read a book, you know, to get material, but the next day I went up to the Hill and I reserved the Old Main Theater for 2 weekends the following September. It's a trick I play with myself. Whenever I think of doing a project like a theater piece, the first thing I do is rent a hall and get a date, and it's all done. I have to fill in the details.
That's fabulous.
You know?
What would you like to leave us with? Is there a particular philosophy you'd like to impart to us?
Well, the two governing principles in my life, it's the wonder and awe within us all. And the best models for that are children. And so children have been my great mentor for years. You watch a 2 or 3 year old at play, and you are witnessing what's part of our nature. As we grow up, we tend to lose it. Yes. So my great mentors are children, and my greatest, the most powerful force that I've ever witnessed in human beings is the love that parents feel for their children. Whatever its foibles, there's nothing quite so grand. It's our grandest expression of love and support.
Oh, that's fabulous. Thank you, Len. This has been such a treat.
My pleasure.
And I love your garden.